People like cars, people like speed, and in some cases, people love the risk of danger. Today's young people grew up on the Mario Kart, Forza, and Cars franchises. So given all of this information, one would think NASCAR, America's premier auto racing organization, would be more popular. The narratives the NASCAR of today has, or lack thereof, are less enticing than ever before. On top of auto racing, already lacking the freak athletes and vibrant personalities that define other sports. But alas, a league that was once second to the NFL in terms of television viewership as recently as 15 years ago has seemingly faded out of the greater spotlight. Those who attend auto races are frequently in awe of the spectacle, and the television support strongly backed that sentiment in the mid-2000s, which makes the sport's recent decline a fascinating case study. Welcome to a joint effort between Stark Raving Sports and Black Flags Matter to take on how a league that was once, statistically speaking, one of the top sports in America, with many inherent points in its favor, has appeared unable to put all the pieces together.
What's going on, guys? It's your boy Darian Gilliam, aka Black Flags Matter. Really appreciate y'all having me on this video. There are a plethora of reasons why NASCAR isn't as popular as it once was. The main bulletin points why pertain to the decline of car culture, a major number of other sports alternatives, social climate change, the new digital media age, the races being so expensive to attend in the first place, and what I find most important is instant gratification. I guess we can kind of go in depth about the last thing I just mentioned. Instant gratification for sports fans is really important, especially in today's day and age. Fans want their stuff instantly, and it's really a part of life as we know it. You want to have a certain product mailed to your doorstep in an instant. You want to get your food in an instant. For sports fans, we want to see a damn good finish instantly. And if that's all you're looking for, NASCAR is the wrong sport to watch, because these races are extremely long. In the world of motorsports, NASCAR is considered a marathon, while IndyCar and F1, while they are a different form of racing, I would consider those to be a sprint, just based off of the race lengths and how fast the cars go. The social climate change in America around the 1980s was a lot different than it is today.
And here comes Michael Jordan, taking time out for breakfast at his regular place, McDonald's.
NASCAR was at the forefront of that and really became a trend, but it wasn't until the 90s when they finally hit the mainstream. If you look into every sport, there are times where the ratings were really up and down. NASCAR is no different. The late 90s all the way up until the early 2000s was the sport's peak in viewership, all the way up until 2005, where they were actually second to the NFL in terms of ratings. Also, you have to take into account in today's motorsports culture, there are a ton of alternatives. Personally, myself, I've really gotten into IndyCar, Formula One, Rallycross, as well as motocross, and even some MotoGP. But in the early 2000s, it was different. NASCAR was at the forefront. They had all of the star power. They were getting all of the media attention. So it's safe to say in those days, most NASCAR fans only watched NASCAR. But with the decline of NASCAR taking place over the past decade, fans were looking to other alternatives. And sure, that ate into NASCAR's ratings in those days, but the changes they made really did them in. When Brian France was in charge, there were a ton of problems. At first, it seemed like a match made in heaven. He was the third generation owner. In his second year running the sport, 2005, they just had their peak season in viewership. But after that, everything just seemed to go downhill. There was too many gimmick changes, too many car changes, superstars were eventually retiring, the on-track product got pretty dull, and lastly, his unfortunate substance abuse problem, which might have had something to do with the decisions being made over the years. Obviously, I hope he's doing better now, but certainly should not be running our sport. NASCAR will eventually cycle back into the mainstream. Maybe not in the next 10 to 15 years, but I could see in a 20 to 30 year period them eventually being back in that fold. There's always going to be a market for NASCAR, especially in the South. No, it's never going to die out, trust me, not with this many sponsors involved, especially over the years, not to mention the TV revenues. But as of right now, it's in a transition period when it comes to its on-track product, the personalities, the media landscape inside the sport in general. I personally still love NASCAR to death. It is going to be my number one go-to motorsport forever. But even as a diehard, these gimmicks were hard to really watch, and the on-track product eventually became dull. But now we are starting to cycle back into the good times. They are starting to really pay attention to what the fans have to say. They're boosting their social media presence. They're getting set for a brand new Gen 7 car, which is supposed to have wholesale changes. And hopefully these cars are really hard to drive, because the harder it is for these professionals to drive these cars, the more entertaining it is going to be for us fans watching.
Thank you to Darian for helping us out with this video. For anyone with an interest in NASCAR, Darian's channel is a great watch. The points he made paint a great picture of NASCAR's decline from an avid fan of the sport's perspective, but there are more factors into the situation to make note of before we go. NASCAR's most well-known drivers have been retiring from the sport. A simple way to word this would be NASCAR needs a Ricky Bobby. Not in the literal sense, but a driver with both wins and a gripping personality. Think what Tyson Fury has done for boxing, another sport whose heyday could seem to be in the rearview mirror. Auto racing speedways also suffer from some stagnation, whereas the variety in both on-field dimensions and the look of a stadium itself in a sport like baseball can make both positive impacts on the game and the fan experience. Think about how much the venue can mean in a baseball viewing experience. Fenway Park and Wrigley Field are both classics that both players and fans love, but there are still places like Camden Yards that are both new and unbelievable to see in person. Tracks at races are very similar, and a little bit of variety in the venue and the track can make a positive impact on both the race itself and the spectator experience if it's done right. A lot of people who attend auto races rave about the atmosphere of the event, so NASCAR could benefit by both enhancing that already strong experience and finding ways to make that experience translate to a TV viewer. At the end of the day, if you want a sport to grow, you need new fans. The greatest strength auto racing has is the experience itself. The experience from both the perspective of a driver and a spectator. And tapping into your greatest strengths for the sake of self-growth and improvement is a great mindset to live by. That about wraps up this video, so thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to like, comment, or subscribe. But yeah, that's about all we got for today. Stay safe during quarantine.